Welcome to another installment of 5 Killer Riffs. On today's video, we're looking at the legendary Gary Moore and his rock era, or the Red Strat era, as I like to call it. We're going to start off with the first track on the Corridors of Power album, Don't Take Me for a Loser. It sounds like this. I love the way that rhythm guitar part is constructed in the verse. It is clearly designed to be straightforward enough so that he could play it and sing it, but also detailed enough to have a static chord progression on the top and a moving bass on the bottom. What we've got is an E minor to D major triad with a low E bass. Then that's going to be simplified slightly as we change the bass note. We're basically going to have this D sus4 to D pattern happening. We're going to play the 8th fret on the low string. That's a C. Then we'll play the open A with that static D sus4 to D happening. Then we'll thumb fret 7 on the low E string. This is how I'm playing it anyway. So we get this. That to me is just so clever and so well thought out. And when I learnt this took me so long to figure out what was going on. And when I finally figured out, it was this real light bulb moment and really changed how I approach playing rhythm guitar. Next up, let's take a look at the track Nuclear Attack. This is essentially Gary doing a rainbow song. It's in the key of G minor. He's doing the Blackmore style dyads. He's got that colossal strat into a cranked up Marshall tone. And this is actually the first Gary Moore solo song from his rock era that I heard. I was really familiar with his blues material. In fact, he was probably one of my first guitar heroes between his blues stuff and his work with Thin Lizzy. And I didn't even realize that he had solo stuff like this, where he was not only shredding like a beast, but he was singing and writing all the songs as well. It goes like this. Again, just the classic Blackmore in the key of G minor. One big thing that Gary did to influence a lot of players, whether it's players like John Sykes, John Norum, Doug Aldrich, myself, I was very influenced by this, is the way he's holding down those dyads and adding a big vibrato to them, and a lot of the time adding like pinched harmonics and scrapes on that. Which you wouldn't necessarily hear Blackmore do. So he's kind of building on that Ritchie Blackmore strat tone and G minor riff approach on there and really making it his own. And again, he's doing all of this and he's singing at the same time and performing like a maniac live as well. Next up, let's have a listen to the riff from the title track to the Victims of the Future album. This is Gary right in the prime of his rock era on here. And it's got that mid-tempo AC/DC inspired groove in the intro. And then it's got a little nod to the sort of cashmere chords like so many people did in the era in that verse. Now, Gary had a pretty complicated relationship with his whole rock era later on in his career, and he kind of talked about how he didn't massively enjoy a lot of what he was doing at the time, but hearing him play this and watching the live performances of this, I mean, if he wasn't enjoying it, he was really, really good at hiding it, but you can still hear that passion and intensity really come out here. Let's have a listen to Victims of the Future. this is another classic dyad-based riff in the key of A this time. So he's going from an A inversion to a C inversion. You've got that Bark at the Moon style G on there, and then a D inversion at the 5th fret. And then you've got that little flourish around the 2nd and 3rd fret. Essentially, he's using A, C, G, and D on there. If you did it like that, it might sound more like an AC/DC song or a Scorpion song, but again, it just sounds like Gary Moore. Next up, we've got the track that absolutely melted my brain the first time that I heard it. I didn't realize that guitar could sound this angry and intense. It's the song End of the World off the Corridors of Power album. The intro, if you haven't heard it, it's basically Gary's version of Eruption, and in my opinion, it is equally as good and impactful. There's so many great licks in there, but I want to look at that main riff in there because it is just an absolute stomping E minor rock song on there, having Jack Bruce on vocals on the recording as well. It's just fantastic. And I love that Gary worked with Jack Bruce and Glenn Hughes a lot in this era. There's a lot of similarities, and you can hear that evolution, especially vocally, from someone like Jack to Gary and Glenn Hughes on there. This one in detail and having a crack at some of the live versions, I realized I've been playing it wrong for my entire life on here. When I worked it out like this. But listening to the recording, rather than that extra open low string, it's grabbing the 5th fret on there, so it's more like this. And that's a great reason why I love doing these 5 Killer Riff episodes. I always learn something by really listening in detail and then having to replay the parts on there. And again, if you haven't heard that whole song, particularly the intro, go and have a listen to it. We'll wrap things up with what has become my favorite Gary Moore rock solo era song, the track Run for Cover. The main riff in it reminds me of so many other riffs. We'll hear it first, and then we'll talk about sort of the influence that you can hear on a bunch of other players that I really admire as well. This is Run for Cover. Another one that, listening in detail, there's a very interesting little nuance in the rhythm guitar part where essentially we're in the key of F sharp, and again, we're using those inverted power chords, Blackmore style. I always thought the riff was doing this. But listening carefully, it sounds like the first time he's actually just sliding that inverted power chord down 1 fret, so. But then I think the next time he is doing this little set of dyads. Now, this particular riff was a massive influence on the way that I play, and there's a bunch of other songs that I really love, like the track Face the Truth by John Norum. Just doing the Run for Cover thing, right? There's also the Hughes and Thrall song, I Got Your Number, which does a very similar thing on there. definitely see that there's a lot of cross-pollination going around with this stuff and a lot of shared influences. And Gary really is a titan amongst that era of guitar players, and you can hear his influence in so many modern players. The thing that rubs off to me, though, is just the conviction in his playing. Like when he's playing rhythm guitar, when he's playing lead guitar, there's this intensity and just fervor about his playing that is addictive to listen to. He really is channeling that true spirit of like rock music, which kind of sounds a bit cheesy, right? You know, the rebellion of youth and things like that. But to me, that fire that you can hear in his playing is what I always want to hear when I hear rock guitar, whether it's another player or whether it's myself going to try and play those things. And his rhythm guitar approach, as well as his lead guitar approach, was massively influential for me. So this is a really fun video to put together. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comment section below and let me know what your favorite tunes from Gary Moore's rock era or his red Strat era, whether it was his old 60s Strat or that red Charvel that he had. Very, very striking visually to me. So I'd love to know what your favorite tunes are. And if you like this style of video and you want to support me directly, there's links in the video description. Go and listen to some Gary Moore now, and I will see you all on the next one.